Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Darrell here, and I'm excited to share with you one of the most innovative tools we've come across in a long time. Our partners at WHY Institute have developed an amazing platform that helps people discover their why operating system. It's truly amazing. In 10 minutes or less, you can know why you do what you do, how you bring your why to life, and what people can count on from you. It's truly the first step in self-awareness. If you're a coach or a sales leader who believes in helping your people understand who they are so they can be the best version of themselves, you've got to check this out. All you need to do is go to WHY.os and look for the WHY certification page. We'll put the link in the show notes. When you reach out to the WHY Institute, let them know you heard about it here on Selling from the Heart, and you'll be on your way to helping your team discover what drives them. Hello, and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
I've been looking forward, Darrell, to this podcast for quite some time. Y'all are in for a treat. I'm super excited. How about you, Darrell?
Dr. Gary Sanchez is in the house with the WHY Institute. Just get ready. That's all I got to say. It's going to be an amazing episode. You're going to want to rewind, take notes, highlight. You're going to want to do all kinds of stuff. I'm so excited, Larry. And this is fun. We've announced the Selling from the Heart experience. We've been talking about having an event where the Selling from the Heart community could gather and encourage each other, inspire each other, equip, rejuvenate, reinvigorate. It's going to be amazing. And it's coming April 19th and 20th in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Now, I'm so excited. And part of the trust formula is inspirational experience. Mm-hmm. And that's part of that's just what we live. This is going to be a great inspirational experience for all sales leaders and sales professionals who attend. I'm super excited about this one.
I'm fired up about it. And you can go to sellingfromtheheartexperience.com, and get tickets. Speaking of North Carolina, we got a shout out today to our friend Michelle Owens from North Carolina.
Yeah. So just real quick, I got to set this up. Michelle Owens, we love you. You're out in Raleigh, North Carolina. She's noted for peach cobbler. If y'all ever want peach cobbler, reach out to Michelle Owens in Raleigh, North Carolina. But she went on to say this, and it just warms my heart when I hear this. Is Michelle went on to say this. She goes, many times I found myself lacking intentionality and focus due to feeling overwhelmed and unmotivated. Selling from the Heart has been extremely helpful by giving me the jolt needed. We all can pick up bad habits in sales and forget to bring our authentic self to the table. Selling from the Heart was a game changer for me. Not only did it help me with being intentional and focused, it gave me the action plan needed to set myself up for success. Michelle, we love you. I've personally witnessed the transformation in Michelle. So thank you.
Michelle, you rock. We so appreciate you. And we appreciate everybody in the Selling from the Heart community, especially those of you who are liking, sharing, subscribing, and leaving reviews. It helps us spread the word. And this is a movement of authenticity and trust, an international movement of authenticity and trust in the sales profession. And authenticity begins when you know your authentic self. I saw this book once, Larry.
Yeah, I don't know.
I read this book, Selling from the Heart. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It says how your authentic self sells you. And the whole conversation around why that we're going to dive into today is so related to authenticity. And I'm excited to introduce our guest. So let's introduce Dr. Gary Sanchez. Now, he is an international speaker. He's an author. He was a dentist for over 3 decades. And most importantly, he's an inventor that figured out why. He's best known as Dr. Why for discovering the 9 whys and developing the WHY operating system. We call it the WHY.os. He's founder of the Why Institute and creator of the world's first why discovery tool that you've heard us talk about. We absolutely love, where you can quickly and accurately discover your why in less than 5 minutes. His journey took him from successful dentist to why obsessed, helping hundreds of thousands of people discover their why, to creating software to impact 1 billion people. And all of this is so exciting. The why discovery just helps you discover now your why, what, and how to create your personal brand message. All of this, the brainchild of Dr. Gary Sanchez. Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast. It's great to have you here.
Awesome, guys. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Darrell. I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be fun because you guys speak the language. You get it right off. You already got it, but it's fun to be around people that get it. So thanks for having me.
We're in for a treat.
We are in for a treat for sure. And as we start, everybody knows the question that the guests in the Selling from the Heart podcast answer. And I'm really looking forward to hearing, Dr. Sanchez, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
Well, you know, when I hear you ask that question, it goes back to some of the things we did in my dental practice, which we talked about head, heart, and hands, right? If they're all in alignment, then it will feel right. Emotionally, it will feel right. But one of the things that's always important to me is sequence, the sequence that we think about things. So I wonder if head, heart, hands is the right sequence. Should it be heart, head, hands? If it feels right, and then you know it's right, then you're going to do right. And then it'll be authentic and it'll be real. So for me, it's really about if you sell from a place that's emotionally right, and then you know that it's right, and then what you do is right, then it's all in alignment and it will be authentic. So that's really what it means to me. But the sequence, that's something that we could talk about is, sequence matters. The sequence that we do things gets different. You get different results if you don't follow the right sequence. Does that make sense?
No, it so does. And hey, Darrell, I'm sitting there going, hey, Gary, I'm telling you, we're going on almost 6 years with the podcast, and we've heard answer after answer, and they've all been just, people are speaking from their heart. This is the first time, literally, in the history of the podcast, we've heard the word sequence. We've heard the word heart, head, and hands. And I love it because so often we're talking about the alignment of the head and heart. But now you've just woven in hands. And then in what order does that go into? I love this because we don't think about it that often. But when you stop and think about it, it does make sense.
Yeah, the sequence matters in everything we do, right? If you're trying to bake a cake, and you see this beautiful cake, do you just throw it all into a bowl, mix it up, stick it in the oven, it comes out like that? No, it's the proper sequence. Application of information in the right sequence yields the right result. And for me, I think the sequence is really heart, head, hands. Starts with the heart. And people don't talk about it that way. No. And I think you guys will and do.
We do. And the sequence is so powerful because if you think about the sales profession that we all know and love, in sales, we start with the hands, right? What's the tactic? What's the sales skill? You need to learn how to prospect, handle objections, all good things, right? And then maybe we get to the mindset. Really great reps get to the mindset. But how many get to the heart set? And what if we just flip that thing on its head and let's start with the right heart. Let's start from our authentic self. Then let's get our mindset right. The skill set's going to follow. And so I absolutely love this. I think we're on to something here. Thanks for bringing this into the conversation. You've been on a journey, though. How does somebody, I really want to hear this story. I've been looking forward to hearing this story and looking forward to sharing it with the world. How does somebody go from being in a dental practice for over 3 decades to creating something as transformational as the WHY operating system? What's the backstory there?
So when I got out of dental school, this was in 1988, quite a while ago. And the gurus of that time, the business coaches, if you will, at that time told me, build a great product and people will come. That was the advice that I got. Build a great product and people will come. And so I did that. I spent 20 years getting to the highest levels you could in dentistry, studying with the best mentors, going to the best institutes, building a beautiful practice, having a well-trained team, buying all the stuff, all the technology. I had a great practice. I had a great product, but I blend in with everybody else who said, yeah, I'm a dentist too. And that used to drive me crazy. My practice wasn't taking off. I wasn't getting the results that I thought I would, even though I put in so much energy and effort into building a premier practice. And I became so disillusioned that I was ready to quit. I said, I'm either going to find something better or I'm just going to quit. And so I went out and I hired a coach. I hired a guy by the name of John Assaraf. Some of you may know him. He was in the movie The Secret. And through him, I learned how to use the internet. I learned how to do website, drip campaigns, SEO. And so I learned how to get my message out to the world. Now I could tell everybody all about me. But the only problem was, what am I going to say? What am I going to say that separates me from everyone else who does what I do? What are your listeners going to say that separates them from everybody else who does what they do? And so since I didn't know, and I didn't want to sound bad or desperate, I just stayed quiet. Until one day, I heard John Assaraf interview Simon Sinek. And all of us have heard about Simon Sinek. He wrote the book, Start With Why, right? And so I watched his TED Talk probably 30 times. I read his book 4, 5, 6 times. And I said, that's what I'm missing. I got a great what, but I don't know my why. Mm-hmm. And so I became obsessed with discovering my why. I called Simon. I said, Simon, I need you to help me discover my why. And he didn't really have a process for doing it. So he and I spent about 8 months together going back through my life. This was in 2009, going back through my life looking for clues. And I kept working with it and working with it. And I finally figured out that my why is to find a better way and share it. To find a better way and share it. And once I realized that, my life made so much sense to me. I've got lots of patents and products and inventions that are all better ways of doing things. And when I find them, then I have to share it with the world. And so I took what I learned from John Assaraf. I took what I learned from Simon Sinek. I created this whyification process for my dental practice, applied it. And what we did is we stopped talking about what we do, crowns, bridges, fillings, complete gum care, all that stuff that everybody loves. And we started talking about why we do what we do and what we believe. And we believe that life is better when you have great teeth. In fact, you can't have a good life if you have bad teeth. And we started changing all of our messaging and our marketing, and all the right people started coming to us. Mm-hmm. Those that believed what we believe, those that valued us based on what we believe. And that's when my practice took off. And as my practice took off, we went from just getting by 4 to 6 new patients a month to 35 to 45 new patients a month. And we went from just getting by to having abundance. And I can tell you guys, just having abundance is a lot more fun than just getting by. And so I started then helping other dentists. They came to me and said, hey, can you help me do this for my practice? So I helped a few hundred dentists, and then a few hundred chiropractors, and then financial groups, and businesses kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I would sit down with somebody. I figured out a better way to do what Simon was trying to do, and I made it easier to where I could help somebody discover their why in about an hour. So I would speak at events all around the world. I'd bring people out of the audience on stage with me, discover their why in front of the audience, and then help them build their messaging, marketing, branding right there on the stage. And I did this for so many thousands of people for free that I started to notice patterns and trends and similarities. And I figured out there's only 9 different whys. It was the most important thing that I discovered, because once I figured that out, I could then help teach other people to do what I was doing. I could get more data. And with that data, then I developed and wrote the software for the Why Discovery, which we launched in 2016. And recently, the WHY.os Discovery, which you guys took, which finds your why, your how, your what, and builds your message for you. So I know that was a long story, but that's really what led me to doing this. So did I set out to create another business? No. Did I want to do it? Did I ever imagine I'd be doing what I'm doing now? No. But it just turned out that way because I found a better way and wanted to share it. And now it's had such an impact for so many people that I ended up selling my dental practice. And now this is what myself and my whole team does now every day. So I know that was a long answer, but that's really the essence of how this all happened.
So this is so good because we have two better two better way guys ganging up on someone who loves to contribute. But there's something that you said, and there's one word in this, and I really honed in on it. And the word that I honed in on that you said just a couple minutes ago, Gary, was believe.
Yes.
And the reason why I want to camp on this for a second is this is something that I'm going to throw my hand up that I struggled with for a long, long time. Is I was trying to turn non-believers into believers, as opposed to finding people who believed in the same things I believed. And together we call what I call betterment. We just created betterment. And what I love about your message and what I love about the Why Institute is there's a lot of us that are talking about our why, but do we really understand the science right behind the why? And once I unpacked my why, my how, and my what, I go, holy smokes. Now I clearly understand why I did the things that I did forever and a day in sales. I highly encourage everyone to uncover it. Go on the road to really unpack this. It's powerful stuff.
You hit a great point there. And here's why that's so important. And it really gets back to brain biology. So if you guys are not familiar, if the listeners are not familiar with the brain biology behind the why, when I was trying to help people discover their why, your why is housed in the limbic part of your brain. And the limbic part of the brain is that part of the brain that's responsible for feelings like loyalty and trust. 100% of decision-making happens at the level of the limbic brain, but it doesn't have the capacity for language. So if someone were to ask you, why do you love your spouse or your significant other? It's a really hard question to answer because it's a feeling. It's hard to explain feelings. Or how many people here have ever bought something they didn't need, right? Why did you buy it? It's because it felt right. It felt right in that moment. And so it's all about feeling. So when I had to access your why, try to figure out your why, I would have you tell me stories because the stories lie in the limbic brain and they give us a glimpse into how you're feeling. But once we discovered that there were 9 whys, I didn't necessarily have to go back to the limbic brain to discover your why. But why that's so important, especially when it relates to sales, is because what you're looking for is someone who believes what you believe. That's your ideal client. That's the one that appreciates you, values you, pays their bill on time, sends their friends to you. Those people that believe what you believe. But in order to get people to connect with people that believe what you believe, you first have to know what it is you believe. You first have to have the words to articulate what it is you believe. And until you had that, Larry, it was this mysterious kind of thing. Well, I believe, I don't even know what people come up with. But once you know your why, you'll know exactly what words to use. And when you articulate what you believe, it gives the other person the opportunity to raise their hand and say, you know what, Larry, I believe that too. You are the right person for me. And that's what I did with my practice. I started talking about what we believe. When you start with I believe, that connects to the limbic brain of the other person. And then they can say, yeah, that's what I believe. I'm in. Or no, that's what I don't believe that. I'm out, which is also okay. Right? Have you guys ever had a bad client?
I think everybody has. So yeah.
Yeah. And what is that like? How much fun is that? Like
none at all.
None at all.
Negative.
They don't believe what you believe.
Powerful.
So that's why that's so valuable. And if you're in sales, being able to articulate what you believe is so powerful to attracting the right people to you.
I love it. And speaking of being able to articulate what you believe, we've got a video from a Selling from the Heart champion we want to share from our good friend Chris Dunn. And Chris is going to answer the question, what does it mean to him to sell from the heart? And when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. What an incredible conversation here about authenticity and why and belief. So let's hear from Chris, and we'll hear from him after a brief word from our sponsors.
Larry and Darrell here, and we're excited to let you know about a new event that will reinvigorate your heart for sales.
The Selling from the Heart experience will be a gathering of like-hearted sales professionals coming to you on April 19th and 20th in Raleigh, North Carolina.
We invite you to join like-hearted sales professionals for an inspirational day that will refresh, refocus, and reignite your passion for selling.
I can't wait. You can learn more and get your tickets at www.sellingfromtheheartexperience.com. That's sellingfromtheheartexperience.com.
We hope to see you there.
Hey guys, Chris Dunn here, Blue Hive Exhibits. I want to talk very quickly and briefly about what selling from the heart means to me. I've definitely overthought this. I've been thinking about it for too long. A friend of mine said, just say the first thing that comes to mind, what's in your heart. So here goes. Selling from the heart to me is all about putting myself in my client's shoes, doing my best to understand what are their pain points, what are things that they're wrestling with, what are they really trying to solve, and then hopefully coming to the table authentically with the best set of ideas and solutions that fit those needs. Not being a yes man and just kind of nodding my head and yesing everything, but be that voice of reason, that consultative, trusted partner that may push back in times when their ask or their need does not fit what they're really after or what their budget is all about. So trying to be, again, kind of that consultative partner and really understand where they're coming from and also do my best to deliver. So thanks very much for the opportunity to kind of tell what was on my mind for that. And I hope this is helpful. Have a great day, everybody.
I love Chris Dunn.
What he said was so powerful, though. And hey, shout out to Chris. And by the way, if you want to submit a video, just text the word video to 21,000. We'd love to hear from you on this. But Chris said something right at the beginning of that was so related to what we're talking about, which is stepping into someone's shoes. And in sales, we always have been taught that means to understand their pain points, their business, all important things to do. But what could it look like if we actually made a decision to understand their why as well and their motivation? How can salespeople do that, and what impact will that have?
Yeah, great question. And you know what? Can I, before we go there, I want to make a comment about what I'm seeing based on what we were just talking about, which is the brain, brain biology. There's a neocortex and the limbic brain. Neocortex is rational, analytical thinking, right? Facts, figures, and features. Limbic brain is the emotional, feeling part of the brain. And when we're talking about selling from the heart, which part of the brain do you think that would lie in? The rational and analytical or the feeling part of the brain? What would you guys say?
I mean, if I would say the feeling part of this.
Yeah,
I'm going to say both, but yes. But I'm always challenging the status quo, Gary. That's my what. So, but nonetheless, I'll go with both you guys. So feelings, yes.
And that's why it's so hard to articulate what it means. It's like asking somebody why, like we mentioned a minute ago, why do you love your spouse? Well, how do you answer that? That's really, you can come up with things they do or don't do.
Sure.
But it's a feeling. And and so you're asking people to articulate or to say what selling from the heart means. And that's that's in the limbic brain. And so they can tell stories about it, but it's hard to really definitively say it. They can tell you also what they believe. So if they started with, I believe, that selling from the heart is, feeling based. When it feels right, I know it's right. They can talk like that, but it's so hard to get a definitive answer. And anyways, back to what the question was that you just asked me.
Yeah.
That was a little sidetrack there.
That's all good.
Awesome.
When you know the why, how, and what of your ideal client or the prospect even that's sitting in front of you, then you know the language that they speak. So let's take Darrell. Darrell's why is to find a better way and share it, like mine. How he does that is by challenging the status quo and thinking outside the box, doing things differently. And ultimately, what Darrell brings are simple solutions, simple processes, things that all of us can actually do and use. And so his why is better way, his how is challenge, his what is simplify. That is Darrell's decision-making process. It has to be better. It has to be different. and it has to be simple. So, Darrell, if I had an idea that I wanted to run by you and get your buy-in, if I don't tell you how it's better, and I don't tell you how it's different, and I don't tell you how it's simple, how are you going to feel about it?
What you just
Doesn't
said
happen.
is pure brilliance.
Doesn't happen.
Pure brilliance. It's not. And really, if it doesn't get past the first hurdle, I mean, it's not really even going to be on my radar, truthfully.
But if I said, Darrell, let me show you how this is better. Let me show you how this is different and going to push the box, think outside the box. And let me show you how this is simple and easy to use. Now, how are you going to feel about it?
We're aligned. It's beautiful.
I'm all in.
Yep.
Yes. And that's how you utilize it for sales. So I'll give you an example. I was having a beer with a buddy of mine, and his friend joined us, Matt. And so Mark and Matt. Mark said, Gary, have you told Matt about this why thing you do? And I said, well, no, we really haven't talked about it. But instead of me telling you about it, let me just have you go discover your why, and then we'll have a conversation about it. So we're in a brewery. He goes over. I send him a code. He goes on his phone, and he discovers 5 minutes. He comes back, and he said, my why came up is trust. And I said, oh, that's awesome, Matt. People with the why of trust want to be the trusted source. They want to be the one that others can count on. If you can trust them and they can trust you, the sky's the limit. But if someone breaks your trust, Matt, how does that make you feel? And he's like, man, that's like a knife in the gut. It's like a done deal. And he said, you know what? That happened to me today. Turns out he's the commander at the Air Force Base here in Albuquerque, Kirtland Air Force Base. And he said one of his guys came to him and told him that he was an fender bender. And he said, oh, no big deal. But later on that day, the guy he was supposedly in the fender bender with, his superior came to him and says, what are we going to do about these two guys? He's like, what do you mean? He goes, you don't know what happened? He said, no. He goes, there was a road rage and your guy ran mine into a wall and they got into a fight. And so then he realized this guy only told him a partial truth. He didn't tell him the whole truth, and he lost his trust. And he said, we need to have this in the Air Force. We need you to come out and work with our team. And so by knowing his why, I knew exactly what was going on in his life. I knew the language that he spoke. I knew what was important to him. So I knew what to talk about in order to help him make a decision to move forward. So when you know your prospect or your client's WHY.os, you know the language they speak, you know how to talk to them, you know what's important to them, so you can help them move forward much faster. Is that making sense?
Totally. No, it totally does. Here's just a quick funny story. I got to rope this in only because there's somebody near and dear to us, Dan Dominguez.
Yeah.
So Dan, I love you. I know you listen to the podcast. You're going to laugh when you hear this story. Gary, I know I've shared this with you before, but as we were talking about becoming strategic partners together, conversations went on and conversations went on and conversations went on because I wasn't clear, right, Darrell?
Yes.
I just wasn't clear. And my how is clarity.
Yeah.
So it was so funny when all of this came to be because we didn't agree until all of us got on a call. So I felt clear about things. So I bring clarity when I'm interacting with our clients and when I'm interacting with prospective clients, I let them know up front, I'm a clarity guy. So be prepared for it. I believe things will happen and things will move quickly when we're all clear. And when we're not clear, things stall. It's just like trust. Yes. And this is so interesting how all of this comes to play. It's so powerful. But here's the other thing I picked up on. When you start knowing all of this, when I'm in conversations with people, afterwards, I'll like Slack Darrell a message if we're on a joint call. I bet you that person's a clarify guy. I bet you that gal's a contribute person. And sure enough, we usually peg it 9 times out of 10. Yeah. It's interesting.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're watching this and you look at, let's just say Larry, and you see what happens to most of us is pretty much all of us actually is we create a narrative around what we think we see. You look at Larry's haircut, his glasses, what he's wearing, his jacket, and how he holds himself. And you create a narrative around what you think you see. And then that's who he becomes to you. But you really don't know what it is. But once we tell you that Larry's why is to contribute, add value, have an impact in the lives of others, already you start to see him differently. Mm-hmm. And then when we know that his how is to clarify, make things crystal clear for himself first and then for others. That's why he asks so many questions. That's why he's holding us up. That's why we need to make sure things are clear. And then ultimately what Larry brings is a trusting relationship where people can count on him, because if he says it, it's going to be true. And he won't say it if it's not true. The whole picture starts coming together. And now you know who you're talking to. It strips away what you think you see, and it brings forward what is really there. And now you know how to talk to him. Now you know what's going to be important to him. Now you know what he needs to hear in order to take the next step. It demystifies the sales process and allows you to move forward faster and have a bigger impact.
Oh, hey, I just have a quick question, man. Gary, you got to come back because there's so much to unpack. But I do have a question that I know our listeners are probably thinking of, whether they're listening to it or they're watching these lovely faces on YouTube, is how do you bring this up in a conversation with somebody? I'm just thinking sales just for a moment as we wrap up our time together is, how do we bring this out in a conversation when I might be that salesperson and Gary, you're that key decision maker or influencer that I'm engaging with? How do I bring this up so it doesn't sound weird in starting to talk about the why, the how, and the what? How do we do this in a way that gets them to buy in and go, hey, I would really like to know this? You get where I'm going with this, Gary?
Yes, for sure. For me, it's easier because I don't talk to anybody on the phone or meet with anybody unless I know their WHY.os, because what are we going to talk about? Right? We're just going to throw a bunch of stuff out there and hope we have something in common. But a lot of sales companies use this. And what they do is they say, one of the benefits in working with our team is that we help our clients discover their why so that we can have much more impactful conversations. We won't spend so much time trying to get to know each other. We will get to know each other quickly and see if we're the right fit. See if we can really help you. We are going to shortcut this process, save you some time, and really get to know each other. So in order to do that, I've got a 5-minute discovery that I want to send to you so that you can discover your why, or you could do the 8-minute one to do your why, how, and what, so that when we have our conversation, things are going to move a lot faster and we won't waste our time.
Beautiful. Oh, I love it. So powerful.
Time. Yeah. Do it every single time. And man, you will just shortcut the sales process to nothing.
I love it. What a great conversation. And as Larry said, we're going to have to continue this conversation someday soon. But alas, we've run out of time. So Gary, how can people discover their why and get more of this in their lives? And especially if there's someone who leads a team.
Perfect. So, you can try to figure it out, but I've done more why discoveries than anybody in the world. And I can tell you at my peak, I was only 70% accurate. So for not much money, you can go to WHY.institute.com and discover your why in 5 minutes for $47, or you can discover your WHY.os, your why, how, and what, and get your message for you. There it is right there for $97. So we're not talking about a lot of money, but we're talking about a massive impact. And so that would be my recommendation. Don't mess around with it anymore. Just go do it.
Yes.
When you got it. I know. As soon as you do, you're like, what am I waiting on? Just go do it. And you won't believe what a difference it makes for you being able to articulate who you are and why somebody should choose you over everybody else who does what you do.
I love it. Love it. Wow. Thank you so much for investing in us today. And thank you for partnering with Selling from the Heart. This message is, and it go back to the beginning, starting with the heart. That is so aligned with this WHY.os and the discovery. And I'm so excited about all of it. Thank you. And man, I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. You are a true Selling from the Heart champion, Dr. Sanchez.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Our pleasure. Take care.
Wow, Larry.
Oh, geez.
So powerful. And just for our friends that are sales leaders, especially, and we've got a great community of sales leaders that listen to this podcast. Just imagine how effective you would be in leading your individuals on your sales team if you understood their why, their what, and their how. And just think of if you can just imagine for a moment trying to lead me and Larry on your team, right? And how differently it would be smart if you handled this differently with Larry's contribute and my better way, and really understanding the dynamics of each individual on your team. The productivity and the effectiveness of your leadership could really, really skyrocket.
No, absolutely. And, just to really just even peel this back even more and why this is so important, there's not one way to deliver the message. We all don't learn the same. We all don't react the same. But yet, when it comes to management and team meetings, and Lord knows over the decades I've been involved in those, they're all delivered the same way.
Yeah, and that's
it's mind blowing. But here's what's interesting. When Darrell and I found out what our whys were on our operating system, I will tell you this, and I love Darrell to pieces, but our conversations and the depth of our conversations took on a whole nother meaning. We got agreement a lot faster than we used to.
It's really, really incredible. And that's why so many sales leaders and company leaders in general are not just taking the WHY.os, they're actually becoming certified coaches in this to be able to help. So powerful. Dr. Sanchez, you're amazing. Thank you for all that you've done to put this incredible tool together. And Larry, I love this thing at the beginning. It begins with the heart. The sequence is important. We've got to start with the heart. And when we start with the heart, instead of starting with the hands, we're going to be a lot more effective. One reason I'm excited about the Selling from the Heart experience coming up April 19th and 20th in Raleigh. Get aligned. Let's start with the heart together. This experience is going to be incredible.
Yeah, no, it absolutely will. And to all the sales leaders that are out there, I just want to share this one last thing with you before we part. Is some of you might be going, this heart stuff, I'm not quite sure. How does this drive revenue? Well, at the Selling from the Heart experience, we'll unpack that. But Darrell and I both, you've heard us numerous times say this, soft skills yield hard dollars. They really do. It's time to bring the heart to the forefront and watch how you start driving sales revenue.
sellingfromtheheartexperience.com for more information. That's sellingfromtheheartexperience.com. We've got great episodes lined up. If you haven't already clicked like or subscribe, you got to do it. Please share this podcast with your peers and even your clients out there. This is a movement of authenticity and trust. So until next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, discover your why, and most of all, sell from the heart.